get you here. Alrighty, Skelly and I, we are good. All right, y'all, let's record this sucker. All right, so today we're going to, if this is your first time in class, I see a couple of familiar faces, but we are live on YouTube. We are going to start doing more of these every week. We'll call them little happy hours. So during the day from 8 to 9:30, we will go over the material in class. So we will do some shoulder anatomy review to start off, about 10-15 minutes, and then we'll take a look at a program for a 40-year-old client who's trying to lose weight. We had a great class today. A student, it's one of the great things about just interacting with people versus, the average trainer just gets certified, and it's like, we think that experience is gained without supervision. It's crazy. Like, how many times have you heard of someone saying that they're a good driver because they've been driving for 20, 30 years, but they're a shitty driver? And so, it's one of the things that we're trying to change in the industry is helping people get that hands-on experience. And it was really awesome today to see Quinn. So he designed a program. He had a client who wants to train 4 times a week. Beginner, 27 years old, wants to put some size on, hasn't worked out in the last month. Pre-COVID, so months. And he wrote out a program. He took him through a workout yesterday, and we consulted before. And then afterwards, we brought him on to go over how it was like and what were some of the hurdles. And it's the little things like that where the second set, he went from a bench press into what did he do? Bench press into, I believe, a row or something, into an ab exercise. 3 rounds of that. And then the second group, what he did was a goblet squat into another row, and the client was just smoked. And he gave the client a 35-pound dumbbell. And this is a 27-year-old dude. And he was just shocked, like, dude, the guy almost died. And so, when you're learning with that hands-on aspect, and then you get to review the programming, it really separates you amongst the crowd of trainers that are out there. So we're gonna start out by always start with any questions that you guys have about anything in general, your own clients, your own programs. Feel free to send us any questions that you have. We love writing those out, putting them on Instagram, YouTube. We've been real active on our YouTube. So if you guys have any questions over here, let us know. But we're trying to just get in front of you guys more. So we're going to start with some shoulder anatomy review. There's a great question to Eric Cressy, and one of his little Ask Me Anything. And the question was, if you could go back and take any class in college, and he went to UConn, he was a fellow alum, him and I, he graduated a couple years after me. If you could go back and change or take any class over again, what do you think he said was the main class? Anyone?
Anatomy.
Functional anatomy. So knowing what the muscles do. And so what we stress here in our internship in person, and so we have in person 2 months here in San Diego, Los Angeles, West Hollywood, and then Santa Monica. We're gonna start doing weekend courses. We'll have our first one, Danny and I have it planned, I think January 9th or 10th. And that'll be a 2-day seminar where she will do the social media stuff and I'll go over the programming and hands-on aspect of the training. And so what we focus on, the first month will be shoulder anatomy, and the second month will be hip anatomy. And we go over nutrition both semesters. But however you go over the 17 muscles, you start with the muscles and then get into the actions and then start getting into the individual actions or the agonist of each movement. And so when we look at Max is getting some accessory work over here on his legs, and we were talking about the synergist during a squat. Your textbook's going to say it's your hamstrings, but when you actually look at the functional anatomy, due to knee extension, the hamstrings reciprocally are going to be inhibited. Yes, they are in synergist during hip extension, but because of knee extension, they are not a main player. So it's actually more of your adductors. And so just understanding your anatomy, you're just going to separate yourself. So let's start out with the rotator cuff. If you can see this, you can name it off, but how well do you guys know your anatomy? Can someone name the 17 muscles? Every time I see Juan, you're driving.
Always.
I get, how many hours, I looked at my average the other day. It's 17 hours per week is what I drive. You know how many hours you drive?
I'll probably do around 10. Because I wake up, what I do, I wake up at 3 a.m. That way I can get a chance to work out and drive and then personal training.
Oh, good for you, man. That's impressive. No excuses on your end. That's good. So it's part of the game, and you just got to forecast. I was doing a little new series for my book, How to Become a Successful Trainer, and I'm reading some of the parts from it. Mark Megna has his own gym called Anatomy, a couple of them in Miami, and I read one of the excerpts today, and his thing was, you got to always vision what you want, and you got to see it, and whatever that goal is, make it bigger, and you just keep on focusing on it. So he had a cool story because he went to the NFL, CFL, and then he started working at Equinox, and he had a manager who was a fucking dick, and like making him do all the grunt work and stuff, trying to do a one-up on him. And he's just like, whatever you want me to do, I'm going to do it 10 times better than you ever expected. So his mindset was just a lot different, and that's a great mindset you got there. So can anyone name the 17 muscles?
Supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, subscapularis, teres major.
So let me stop you there, Chris. You're right, but what are those four?
Rhomboid, major, minor, deltoid, bicep, brachii, triceps, or tricep, trapezius, systemus dorsi, coracobrachialis, serratus inferior, levator scap.
Good, so let's go back and look at the rotator cuff. Those four, what is the main job of the rotator cuff muscles?
Stabilize the humeral joint.
Good. We got that stable. So when you look at doing an upper body push, pull, vertical, horizontal, whatever it is, we should aim to stabilize the glenohumeral joint. So by doing an exercise, Quinn, he was on our recent post, he was doing some external abductions with a band on his hand. That's great for activating the rotator cuff muscles. Maybe you want to do external rotation with a band. That's fine. Maybe you want to do push-ups on a stability ball or Bosu ball or Eric's pad. It's going to get those muscles firing. Then from the rotator cuff, we go into the majors and minors. So we have teres major. So then we're going to have the teres minor. The teres minor, teres major. And you have the rhomboid major, rhomboid minor. And those are deep. So you have the trapezius, which is the superficial back muscle. And underneath that, you're going to have the rhomboid major and minor. We have the pec major, pec minor. So if you move the pec major, underneath it, you have the pec minor. So it looks like this. And you have the pec minor is more of a breather and a protractor. So it works with secondary breathing, and then it works with protracting the scapula. Pec major has three regions. You have the sternal, costal, and then the clavicular. And then you have your deltoid, which is one muscle, three parts. That was the lab today. So we always post our labs if you ever want to do the workouts that the interns are doing. So we go through right now, we're doing a hypothetical program for a client who wants to train 5 days a week. So we always encourage you guys to get more out of the clients that you have. It can be challenging to get more clients, especially during a situation like this. So why not get better at getting more from the clients you have? If you have an online client, have an offering of just your online training, but then you have another portion, which is nutritional consulting. So you could have a group of people that just want exercise. You have a group of people that just want nutritional consultations. You can meet with them individually, but then you can have hybrids, people who cross over. Kind of like similar to what we have with our internship. So we have a $50 tier, which allows people to watch the recorded ones. But then we have a $100 tier, and that's going to allow for you to watch the live ones. But then we have a mentorship program. So it's you give people different options, and you can have like a hybrid. So the deltoid, the workout today was hitting the delts. So you have anterior deltoid, lateral and medial deltoid, posterior deltoid. Typically, you're going to find the anterior deltoid is overly recruited due to a lot of pressing, bench press, military press. We don't even it out with horizontal abduction, biceps and triceps. And then I always screw that up. It is S, biceps and triceps. And then we have the trapezius, which is one muscle, three parts, and upper, middle, and lower. Latissimus dorsi. You remember the acronym DIE HARD, Chris?
Depression, internal rotation. I need to work.
Good. So you have die hard. So the E is going to be extension. Juan, what's the H?
Horizontal abduction.
Good. Horizontal abduction. The A? Remember what A stands for?
It's an abduction.
Adduction. Add. And then retraction. And then downward rotation.
Okay.
Then you have the coracoid brachialis, which is the flexor. And then you have the serratus anterior. And then you have the levator scapula elevation. This is going to flex and extend in the sagittal plane. Flexion here, extension, you have flexion, extension. In the transverse plane, you have 4, external rotation, internal rotation, horizontal AB, horizontal AD. In the frontal plane, you have AB going away, AD coming down. You're adding to the midline. And then you have scaption, which is 30 degrees inside of horizontal abduction. So if I'm looking at you guys, that would be frontal, this would be scaption. Some will also call it the scapular plane. If you look at the skeleton, if you don't get a chance to look at one of these, it's nice to have, it's creepy, especially when you move and you put it in your passenger seat and you seatbelt it up, people look at you like you're a fucking psychopath, and I understand why. But you have, it's not like the rib cage and then your scapula. In a 2D version, that's what you would think. So you have the rib cage, which is more, it's almost like this, where it's expanding out, and then your scapula is more over here. So it's sitting more at a 45-degree angle. So when you see the skeleton, this would be frontal, right? But you see how it's kind of in that degree. So if you were in a clock, you got obviously 12, you got 3, we're looking at like 2 o'clock. So that's the scapular plane. And that could be a really good assumption to make why a lot of bros, it's always bros who fuck up their shoulders because bros are the ones that lift weights typically. So if you have a guy who's constantly doing military press in the frontal plane, it's like you're sitting the scapula back and down, it's not optimal. It's a little more dyskinesis, or dysfunctional movement. And you look at bench press, we lock it down. And when we do a military press, we typically have a thoracic arch, and we don't let our elbows kind of sit in. A better military press variation would almost be like pressing from here. That's just a lot nicer versus coming out in here, how most people do it. It's fucking Arnold's fault because the Arnold presses, everyone's doing those, but the scapular plane is just a lot healthier, so pressing here is a lot better. We have elevation of the scapula, we have depression, protraction, retraction, upward rotation, downward rotation, anterior tilt, posterior tilt. So the humerus and the scapula work together in juxtaposition. Go ahead, Juan.
I was just gonna ask you the main differences between the seated military press and the standing.
And so what do you think the difference is?
I think the core is less engaged when you're sitting down, but you might, depending on, you might have, more range of motion just because you got that support.
Yeah, you're not far off. So which one are you typically stronger on?
All right, man, I'm not sure. I'm a hunk, so I'm good at both.
I like that. That's good.
I'm better at the standing.
Interesting. In my experience, typically people will be stronger in a seated because when you do stand up, you have to engage a lot more, which could take away from the force production. So I would just ascertain that for the most part, it would be typically seated, kind of similar to like an incline and a bench. You're going to be stronger on a seated. You're going to be not as strong for a seated. But if you do a lot of standing, that's how you can get stronger. So the big difference is you do have to engage your core and your glutes, and so that can take away from the force production. It's not that much of a difference though. All right. Yep. So any questions about anatomy? The more you get into anatomy, it's just there was a girl today, she hopped on and she was asking about a client who was a radiologist, a radio something tech, where she does ultrasound tech. And she had some wrist pain. I did a post with Max today. It's like, the more you get around physical therapists and you understand your anatomy, that stuff is just second nature. And so when you communicate that with a client who has pain and you're confident in the procedures in an appropriate way, you're not overstepping your boundaries, you just picked up a client piece of cake. And I can't encourage you enough. If it was up to me to redesign the fitness industry, I would have you do a 2-month internship like we have here in Southern California. You learn shoulder anatomy, hip anatomy, you understand movement. The final to pass would be you get observed by coaches, trainers who've been in the game for a while. They watch you train someone. And it's not just about your form. It's also about the service that you provide. It's also about how you interact with the client. Because at the end of the day, if you want to be successful long term, if you're a dick or you have no personality, there's not a high likelihood that your client's going to stick around. So you need to have that, the personal side as well. After that 2 months, I would encourage everyone to do some type of internship via physical therapy. So then you understand more about injuries. So when a client comes in and they talk about something, you understand pain. Pain is very complex. It's not as simple as, oh, you have an elbow issue, ice it. Understanding functional anatomy, where trainers today, unfortunately, they go the opposite route, where they want to understand injuries. What is the average, and if you've done this, I'm not picking on you, but what does the average trainer do when they want to get better at learning more about injuries? What certification they get? Corrective exercise. So all of our clients are fucked up, so we want to fix them, so we get a corrective exercise certification, thinking that an exercise is going to fix pain. It's not always the case. There's a lot that goes into pain. Pain is a fascinating phenomena. What is the single worst injury in the world? You guys know?
ACL tear.
Okay, that's a good guess. 10 times more painful. A paper cut. You cut your finger, you're like, holy shit, this is the worst pain in the world. You'll have the biggest guy in the world get a paper cut, and he's screaming like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Well, why does that hurt so much? So the brain is the only organ that does not sense pain, which is fascinating. So we have signals that are going into the spinal column, going out. And when you learn more about injuries and just pain in general, you're just going to be a lot more well-rounded. So when that client does come in, and I was talking to a girl here, her name's Heather, and she's doing our internship down here in San Diego. And she worked before with people who were in their late 70s. And she said it was just way different learning how to train these individuals because of stigma with what everyone says. Like when you get older, you're not supposed to move as much. And you're gonna have pain and blah, blah, blah. Why is it that, I thought this was fascinating from a lead physical therapist, that we have this notion that as we age, we're gonna start getting in pain. Everyone's heard that, right? So your joints and everything, they're gonna start hurting more. Well, why doesn't your skin hurt more? Because as we age, our skin gets all wrinkly and nasty, but our skin doesn't hurt. So we have these, it's almost like people will tell you like, oh, you're getting old? Expect for your back to hurt. Expect for this to hurt. They set these expectations for pain. So if it was up to me, I would have you do internship upon physical therapy internship. If you want to get into strength and conditioning, that would be your next one, or maybe a specialty working with youth or elderly. And then you just be gaining so much more experience, which is going to translate us into the next topic if you guys don't have any questions with anatomy. Nothing on anatomy? Focus on your 17 muscles, 17 actions. If you want to really nerd out, recognize the 17 actions and the agonist for each. So if flexion, it's going to be primarily your clavicular portion of the pec major, anterior deltoid. For extension, it's probably going to be your lats, so know the difference between each. Okay, so now we're going to get into programming. So Juan, tell us a little bit more about your client.
She, like I said, she used to play softball before. She only played for about 2 years. She used to be active, But then after 35, she said she started slowing down her activity. Other than that, she works out. She likes to work out 3 times a week, ideally. But she, as far as like has injuries, she had a problem on her left knee.
Okay.
With the weight, but she's lost 45 pounds with me, and then after that, she doesn't have those knee pains, that knee pain anymore.
Good.
But yeah.
Awesome, congrats. So right now, how much would you say she weighs?
She started at 245. She's at 197 last time we checked.
Awesome. So the program that I wrote out for here was with the notion that she was coming in, so let's take her for beginner. So a 240-pound person who was hoping to lose some weight. Now, there's a lot that goes into it. People, if you want to get down to the foundation, it's calories in, calories out. That's what it is. Now, are there other portions to that? Of course there are. There's hormones that are involved. There's stress, there's sleep, there's alcohol as I'm drinking beer. There's environmental factors, there's genetics, mindset. There's a lot of factors that go into it, but the most important thing to address is calories in and calories out. So we got to get behind her mindset as well. So she mentioned something to you that I want to address, and that was that she was almost a little intimidated of weight training, correct? Did we lose you, Juan? So we can come back in when he gets better reception. But one of the things that he mentioned was that she had a little bit of, well, what did you say earlier?
No, I had lost you for a second, but it went back. I just couldn't hear you.
So you said she had a little bit of hesitation when working out, right?
Yeah, she usually, and it's still to this day, she doesn't feel comfortable with lunging, like at all. And then other than that, she got that conception, of people thinking, girls thinking that they'll get, we've talked about it in the class, that they'll get beefy from lifting weights. Mm-hmm. So that's as far as her mindset. She likes breaking in and sweat, but she don't like heavy weights.
Yeah. And that's fair. So that the analogy I like to use on that one is, what's her name again?
Her name's Keita.
Keita. So Keita, you're a pretty rose. I'm a giant sequoia tree, and the rose is afraid to turn into the sequoia tree. And I'm telling you, as a sequoia tree, that it's not going to happen. But you're looking at me like, fuck this. I don't want to look like you. So I understand because we're different. But I have a different DNA structure. I have anywhere from 10 to as much as 40 times more testosterone than you. So if you start taking my DNA, my structure from my tree, and we inject it into you, you're going to turn into a sequoia tree. Meaning, if you start taking testosterone, do you plan on taking testosterone anytime soon? No. Do you plan on taking any CrossFit style classes anytime soon? No. Nothing to worry about. And the great thing about being a knowledgeable trainer, worst case scenario, which I've never had, and I've worked with over 1,000 people before, if you were that lottery ticket where you did get bulky, we know how to reverse engineer that. So it won't happen, but if it were to happen, we'll get you to where you want to be. So just try to calm down her anxiety, because it is still, in 2020, it is a common concern. So you want to take that into respect. I wouldn't have her doing a bench press and heavy military press and squats right away. You want to ease into it. So when we look at designing a program for someone, you take the patterns, a push, a pull, a carry, transitional if you'd like. You have a hinge, a unilateral, and a squat. Then you're going to diversify those in the program. I don't program off of exercises. So when I have this communication with my client, we set expectations when she's going to come in. We tell her what the first workout's going to be like. It's going to be more of an assessment. I want to get some measurements, see where you're at, if you're comfortable with it. Maybe we do body fat percentage, a grip test. Maybe we do a plank challenge, whatever. I'm going to gather some data from her, look at a couple exercises to see how she moves, and then I would present to her personal training. So we're assuming that she's already signed up. And now in my mind, the program I would design for 1 week. I don't encourage you guys designing any more of a program for longer than 1 week due to, unless it's an athlete. Because an athlete is going to commit. You're not going to typically have a basketball player, correct me if I'm wrong one, but you're not going to have a basketball player 2 weeks into the season be like, you know what, I'm done. I'm going to quit. It's like, you'll get this, every once in a blue moon, but it's like you have the players on your team, they're doing the program. That's not in the equation. But with general population, it's almost like that is the equation. The most important part is getting them to show up to be consistent. So if you spend a month writing out this crazy program and you have drop sets here and you have peripheral hard action, you do all this crazy shit, it takes you a month, the day after the first full body workout, she can write back and be like, this isn't for me, I want a refund. And you're like, son of a bitch, what the heck? I wasn't ready for that. Like, that's not fair. No, just understand that people have a consistency problem. We don't have a weight loss program. We don't have a weight loss problem. We have a consistency problem. So that's our job, to get him to have fun with this. And so here's what I would do when I would write this program out. Maybe you do it on a Sunday night. And the great thing about this is the more time you invest as a newer trainer, the easier it becomes later on. So I personally haven't done like a program just like this right here, this first week in years, just because it's in my library in my head. But you'll see down here on the bottom, like I have a 3-day beginner, 4-day continuation from month 1 to 2. We have a basketball beginner. You can create a portfolio literally of thousands of programs. And I'm doing stories right now. If you were to invest, some would say sacrifice, I'm going to say invest, an hour of your sleep, meaning that you wake up an hour earlier and you just start designing programs. At the end of a year, you're going to have a huge portfolio of exercise that you can easily distribute out there. It's the holidays right now. You can give it to your Aunt Susie who you don't like. Oh, here's a program for you, Susie. Don't take this offensively, but I wrote you out a program. Normally I charge $500 for this, but I'm going to give it to you for free. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, whatever, and you're good to go. But you start developing this stuff now, you're going to get so much better in the future. And so it's just exercises, and then it's regressions and progressions. So in my mind, I'm going to start off with a very, very harmless exercise. Now, you said she's 40, she was an athlete. I'm going to still train her as if she is an athlete. Not like plyometrics and stuff like that, but I'm not going to be like, oh, let me hold your hand, you're delicate. I don't do that with any of my clients. Everyone in my mind's an athlete. And so how she comes in, how she walks, how she presents herself, I'm going to see in my mind if I think she's capable of getting down on the ground and getting back up. And Juan, in your experience working with her, the first time you met her, do you think a bridge would be appropriate?
A what?
A bridge, like on the ground and just hinging up?
Oh, no.
No?
No.
So like just lying down on your back and pushing your butt up in the air.
She, like, that movement for her is just tough because she felt insecure.
Great. Love that. Love it. Yeah, so you're going to gather this information during the assessment. And so, when you talk to her about, what she's comfortable with and what she's not. So in my mind, I'm formulating something so she doesn't feel comfortable doing that. Perfectly all right. Then what you would do is you just modify that pattern. And so then you can take out this one right here, which would be the bridge hip thrust, and then do something that she's probably doing regularly. So you can take out and just move the step ups up. Would she be comfortable with a step up?
I have a really small step up, but yes.
Okay, so that's perfectly fine. So you can do the step up, and if her knee were to irritate in the sagittal plane, try a frontal plane one. More times than not, that would help with the knee pain. A wall push-up, would that be acceptable?
That would. We actually got out of a session, and that's what we did. We did a wall push-up.
Nice.
We did a wall.
And that's a great regression for someone. And then in that position, you can even just do a plank. So you're on the wall, you can do some arm taps. Maybe you have a bench, like on the table, for example, you could do a plank on here. So instead of being on the ground, you can just work on some taps like that. Now, again, if she wasn't comfortable with those, an easy regression would be just sitting down and doing either a body weight or a banded payloft. So I would just give her a band, bring it that way, hold it out there, up and down. She can bring it above her head, and she's gonna feel that in her core. So then we'll have our unilateral, we have our push, and then we have that peel-off variation. So if you didn't feel like the planks was good, you could do that. So we're gonna scratch the bridge. What equipment does she have? You said she doesn't have much, right?
Yeah, she doesn't have much. She only has dumbbell sets up to 50.
Okay.
And then one bench. The elliptical. You know the elliptical that got, it's not the really tall one, but it has handles on the side, so she's able to get her mild step up in there.
Okay.
Because the one on the treadmill would be too small for her.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, that's all the equipment she got, and she got some space, a racquetball area.
Okay.
Which was movements in there.
Great. So you can just take a dumbbell and just focus on the hinge, and it'll make it probably a lot more appropriate for her because the bridge she didn't like. She felt a little uncomfortable, which is very common. So then you can just teach the hinge pattern you can have her hold the dumbbell here and just teach her to, I always say, kiss your butt to the wall. So just push your butt back without bending your knees. And so you can be in front of her. So here she is, and you put your hand in front of her knee. Don't let her knee go forward. So in this position, she's learning the pattern of just going back and hinging. Squeezing forward here, coming back, hinging. And you hold the weight down here and you can just you push it back, and what you can do to get engaged with the trainer is you can pull the weight from her. So when you pull the weight from her, what that does is it teaches her to engage her lats. So if she's holding the weight down here and I'm pulling the weight, she has to pull it down. So therefore, you can put a little band on it and pull it out. So if Skelly's doing the exercise right here and he's coming down, and I have a band and I'm pulling the band this way, it would become like this. So they have to engage and keep their lats down. And that's something you can do, Chris, to help you with your deadlift. You've been trying to get better with that. But if we have too much migration of our knee, it's not a deadlift anymore. It's not a hinge pattern, it's a squat pattern. So we just want to encourage pushing it back. Yeah, so get someone who can essentially just put their hand in front of your knees. And if your knee touches my hand, you got to do 10 push-ups. So that's teaching you that you don't go forward with a hinge. You go back with the glutes. And so maybe a side plank would be inappropriate for her. So you do like a wall side plank. Aussies and a TRX we wouldn't be able to do because she doesn't have that, but you can incorporate a banded row, whether if you think it's better to do seated or standing. You can do neutral, you can do pronated, and then you have your goblets that you can do. And then, is she comfortable doing goblets? Good, goblets are a great one.
It started, but you know, we've been, she after 30, at 25, we already having that conversation, but last week she did 35. She went for 8 times.
Nice.
So she's definitely been progressing with that. She's been feeling more comfortable. But once it reached that, some exercises like hip thrusts, she gets dizzy.
Mm-hmm.
She don't really like those a lot. But other than those 2 exercises, she's definitely showing progression.
Good. And there's so many different things you can do with like the goblet if your client ever gets bored of it. So you can do 1 dumbbell here and squat, so it's like an offset goblet. You can obviously hold the 25 here, but if you have 2 15s and you're squatting down, it's a little different. And then you just hold 1, she's squatting down. Maybe you have a band and she's pulling it and while she's squatting down. So there's lots of little variations you can throw in there. And how we do our programming, you'll see it's a circuit followed by another circuit, followed by another circuit. So it's 3 circuits. We do a core, and an accessory. So the accessory is whatever they like to do. So I'm going to ask her, what's your favorite arm exercise? If a genie were to pop out of a lamp right now and give you the perfect body part, what would that be? And so what do you think she would say, Juan?
Female glutes.
Okay, so she says glutes, and maybe do some band walks. Maybe she's just standing up on the wall and doing abductions. You know, something along those lines that will help you with getting that glute activation. So this is how the program would be and how I would do this. So there's two parts to this. One part being if I'm training him in person. The second part would be if I'm doing it online. So you'll notice that there's little hyperlinks in here. So I will put those in there. So like here's my warm-up. You know, over here I have my little category of warm-up. So my client, they click on it, and what this does is it directs them then to my website or my YouTube. I get a like for this. Like this is how you build your I just did it 10 minutes before class. Just came up with something random. So I'm doing some flexions of the hip. I'm doing, then pull it back, and then I'll do some transverse, open up. And so this is just like, this is what your client can do before the workout, some toe touches, some jogs, some jumping jacks, maybe some side lunges. Maybe you want to do modified jumps to help them with the proper form. So you can come up with your own little warm-up routine, and you put that into your program. And so this is what they're doing for the first month. And then when you go to you don't give them the second month right now, obviously, but when you design that second program for the second month, you just take these exercises and you play around with the main emphasis. So for her, how I would do this is, so in my mind, okay, we did good here, this first workout, we modify the stuff that's gonna be appropriate. We're still doing a lot of the very similar exercises. We're still gonna do goblets. I put in here a landmine DL, but obviously she doesn't have a landmine, so you would just modify that to do your deadlift variations with the dumbbell, different bicep curl, band walks. We're still hitting the main patterns of a squat, a unilateral, and a hinge. I'm going to have a weird thing with her to try to get her to start liking hip thrusts. And I'm gonna do it kind of like psychologically, like, yeah, have I told you about Susie? She's like, no, who's Susie? In my mind, Susie's made up, but yeah, Susie is a very similar situation. She's lost a lot of weight, she's been doing awesome, and she's just fallen in love with hip thrusts. In the beginning, she's very similar, she hated them, but I think it was because it was just kind of uncomfortable, and sometimes our groin area can be kind of sensitive, and so what she didn't like was the padding, and so we just kind of played around with different paddings, and then she really started liking it. And then one day she walked by and she was like, holy shit, Chris, I never had an ass before. Now I have an ass. Oh my gosh, she loves it. So Susie's all about the hip thrust. It's like you can kind of tell these stories and then they're thinking like, okay, because she could have something where she's just uncomfortable being next to you because it's a fucking sexual exercise. You're humping the air, your trainer's staring at you. Number one rule with the hip thrust, what is it?
Look at women. Don't look.
No eye contact. Don't give eye contact. You freak people out. And so if you're right in front of them and you're making it kind of weird like that, then maybe she just doesn't like it. So there's just a lot of unique parts with that. As a woman, you and I, we can't relate to because our minds are just different. So it's like we'll do an exercise, but there's just some people that they don't like it, but I'm still going to try to encourage them. Maybe it's something as simple as when we do it, we're facing a wall. So if you like look in the gym here, we have Max, there you go. So it's like in the middle right there, and she's facing this way. She's uncomfortable.
Hi, Max.
If she's facing the wall and you're behind her coaching her, that could be the environment that she likes. So I would just continue to try various little things to see what she likes, but you just have to just kind of play around with it. There's not a magical exercise. She does not need to do hinges. She does not need to do a squat. No one needs to do those exercises. We gotta find exercises that she likes. So for my first month, I would choose 3 to 5 exercises that are gonna be her go-tos. So let's just say it's her step-ups and we load those. The variation of the barbell ones, the dumbbell push-ups, those are our 3 main ones. So just try to find exercise that we can really overload. And then the next month, I'm gonna kind of switch it up a little bit. So this is week 1, week 2, I would just take this one down there, take the B's essentially, or when I change out. So this is still month 1. This is how I design a program. You get that feedback. So notice how before I had bridges and stuff, you're gonna modify that stuff. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, bridge. She doesn't like bridge. Take it out. And then you're gonna have to adapt on the fly. So now we find out what she likes. So maybe we incorporate a step up here. Maybe we start doing a step up into a military press immediately after because that's going to increase the intensity of it. She really likes maybe behind the head, behind the neck, tricep extensions. And she really likes these. Okay, great. You modify, always putting the B's, something that she likes, something that she enjoys, something that keeps her coming back. And so then you go week to week, and then after that month, then we're gonna change it up again. Maybe we start doing supersets. Maybe we start doing drop sets. Maybe we start incorporating interval sets. So she does her goblet squats for 15 reps into 30 seconds of jumping jacks, into goblet squats again, into a modified mountain climber, into goblet squat again, into star jacks, coming back and forth like that. And just coming up with different approaches month to month. Did you have any questions on this little variation of how we designed this and what we're doing?
Everything is clear. And it also helped. I was there this morning, so as far as like switching things up, I do I do boxing with her as well to switch it up for that accessory. She likes boxing a lot, so that's another thing that I always, we do 3 rounds, 40 seconds, 45 seconds. It depends how intense, depends on the day. Because I usually won't have her do heavy punching back-to-back days. If it were to be the case, it's for her shoulders. Just to keep.
What was her sport when she played when she was younger?
She played softball.
All right. And I mean, those are things that, what could we do, like more of a fast rotational band? Work on, what position did she play? I mean, have her, next time bring her mitt and go get a ball. Order one off eBay or fucking Amazon, sorry. And, during your rest periods, you start throwing her the ball a little bit. And that's the stuff that your clients think about, like, oh shit, he's thinking about me. He remembered that I like this. And you just start, your rest period could be, she could run down there, run back, put on her glove, you throw it to her, take it off, put it back on. It's like, come up with creative little games like that. And, that could be, there you go, playing catch when she does band walks. And you said she has a racquetball court, right?
Yeah, she does.
So I had a couple athletes I would play, and they always gave me shit because they're like, you treat me like a dog. I'm like, no, we're going to play fetch. I'll take the ball, and I'll just throw it. Go get it. And, I would run down there, get the ball, come back. And so that's the fun that will keep people coming back. Your frequency, your intensity, time, type. Some people will say, like, oh, they need to enjoy it within reason. It's like you talked to her about, did she play D1 or what'd she play?
She played at SIU.
Okay, yeah, so I mean, that's a badass school. So she was a legit athlete. Like, can you reflect back and remember the practices that you hate, or can you reflect back and remember the games that you won? And she's gonna remember the games that she won, because it's the work that got you there. We glorify the championships, but it's the hard work that gets you there. And so it's the same thing with our physique. And this is the stuff right now. So almost think of like for you, Juan, what was the worst drill that you guys did in basketball?
The worst drill?
Yeah.
Probably, I developed love with time, but suicides aren't really that fun.
But can't you, with certainty now, looking back, say that suicides are one of the drills that help you with your conditioning in the game?
Most definitely.
Yeah, so it's like you find out with her where it's like, what was the worst softball drill that you did? Maybe they call them like cone to cone or pillar to pillar. They run the outfield back to back. Those were the ones that in the 9th inning and you're down by 1, those were the ones that helped you prepare for this. So think of that like your hip thrust. This is the one that's going to help you get to where you want to be in the long run. We can't think of it as, oh, I hate it. Think of it as, this is going to be my new love. And you can tell her that story that you had. And so I think a lot of it has to do with the relatability. And then you can just find that connection and have her start, just trying different things. So and I can't encourage you guys enough, the simple things, like just by putting a link in there to your own website. So when people tell you that, oh, it's so hard to do online, I literally updated just to tell people how, not you guys, but I get this a lot from my own trainers, 40 videos in the last 2 days. I can have an excuse for time, I can have an excuse for whatever the fuck it is, but I made it a priority. I put up 40 videos, I filmed them, you can do it from your phone. So that's just, it gives that personal touch. You could send her something from Athlean X or Alexia Clark, but that's not you. So why not send her something? Or even better, what you can do is, this is the interaction that you can have. So if she's supposed to do a workout today at home, she's supposed to do goblet squats. On your story, do goblet squats, proper form, and then tag her. So and you can text and say, I did a post today, it's for you. Maybe she doesn't want you to tag her, whatever, but she knows that you did that exercise for her, and that's that service side that's gonna keep people around for a long time. So we're gonna start doing a lot more of these. You guys can send me case examples that you have. I have a ton. Next week we're gonna do one with a client who got rhabdomyolysis, show you how to design a program for them. The more unique, the better. If it's basic, that's fine. But as we go week to week, we'll have different instructors teach these as well. So I'll do one next week. We'll get Max in here, we'll get Tom, we'll get Jared, and we'll get Barack. And you'll be able to have these case examples. You can ask them questions, how you would program, sales, whatever it is. We find that a lot of trainers have a difficult time with the programming. That's what we want to help you guys perfect. So do you guys have any questions or anything that I can help you with while we have you on?
I have a good question, Chris.
Yep.
Long time in chat.
Yeah.
How do you deal with sort of like equipment availability in the gym? So I'll give you an example. So I was training someone yesterday. She's really focused on getting a chin up, and so she was pumped to do eccentrics, which I was going to program first, which I did program first, great. But then someone was in to pull up the squat rack the whole time. And so we did it at the end, but by the time we did at the end, her grip was shot. And so, I guess it's just, I walked her through, hey, some things, it sort of is what it is. Luckily, because we did deadlift first from the trap wire, your grip was much better there. You said PR there, and so I was able to talk through it that way. But I guess overall, how do you think about like the equipment availability?
That's huge. So, if you look at like what we got here in San Diego, so we got this little area right here, we got our cable, and then this would be like the station with dumbbells. We have our rack, and then we have a rack over here, hip thrust, our squat row, and this area. We can fit 6 trainers in here at one time. So you write your program on the board. It's nice to have a private space like this because you can kind of set those expectations. Hey Max, I'm going to be working with Ben today, and the first half we're going to be really focusing on squats. Is that cool? So you can communicate that way. It just gets more challenging when you have a wide open space, because what we typically may do is you can do, so just take this small space, which is 1,300 square feet, times it by 10. You do a cable exercise over here, and then you go over there and do something. You're not optimizing your environment. So what I would do then is just maybe instead of doing those deadlifts, you stick to the pulls, the pull-ups that you really want to focus on, and you complement the pull-up with a goblet instead. And then next time you program your deadlift with push-ups instead of this time you're doing incline press. So in this area we can do pull-up, incline press, goblet, because that's all pretty manageable. Whereas when we come back over here to the deadlift variation, you can use that environment with push-ups and so forth. It is tricky. And imagine another benefit of having a private facility is we will have clients that will come in and be like, I fucking hate training at Equinox at 5 o'clock because it's just your sardines. You can't move. It sucks. So yeah, that's why you want to train here. So that's something we can sell them on. That's just the pro that we have. To a certain extent, there's just going to be some times when you're going to not be able to do the entire workout. But I think as you gain more experience, you need to learn the adaptability of your environment and just look at your programming that way. So maybe at 5 o'clock, if I know it's really busy, I'm going to do more of a Metcon bodyweight cardio style workout today. Versus on a Tuesday at 3 o'clock, it's just going to be significantly different. I don't know if that helps at all, but.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mallory, where are you from?
I'm from Ontario.
Oh, you're a Canuck.
I'm not not too far from LA, so
Oh.
I'm thinking about doing the internship.
I was
No,
thinking,
no, not Canada.
I was thinking, I'm like, way up there, nice, and Max.
No, Southern California.
Okay, nice, yeah, it's, I have family out in Corona, so that's not too far from you, I don't think, right?
No,
Yeah, so,
20 minutes or so.
there you go, nice. So are you currently a trainer, or what are you doing?
I actually did get certified as a Nasm trainer.
Nice.
However, I felt really unprepared. I've never actually trained anybody, like no practical hands-on application, and that's what I really want to do. So
Great, well,
I
just,
came across your page, and that's what's interesting to me.
awesome, well, that's gonna be that next step, so it's like you're in the party, now it's time to implement your skills and start, just like Brandon was saying, where, he's been certified for a while, and then you start practicing it, and then it's like, well, you're not going to find that in the Nasm textbook. What do you do when your equipment's unavailable? Like those are the things you kind of have to brainstorm and run through. So, any other questions that you guys had? Lauren, you asked about trainers stealing your, what happens with a trainer stealing or buying your work? I love it. I hope that more trainers steal my stuff because it just shows that I'm a superior trainer. I'm going to continue to put a superior product out there, and I'm going to let them take it because it's not going to bother me. I think that the immature thing to do would be to, where is that? Watch my YouTube that I did earlier. I'll post it. But reading the book exactly from Mark, and what he said was, my manager literally threw a towel at me and said, go clean that up over there. How the average person's gonna respond, fuck you, man, let's fight. Like, that's what your natural animalistic mind says, right? Mark smiles at him and says, yes, sir. Goes over there, cleans it up. Looks up at the guy, and the guy's kind of like, haha, I own you. Mark says, where are the other cleaning supplies? Because I don't think this is sufficient. And the guy's like, what the fuck? What do you mean? Where is? So Mark goes and gets all this cleaning stuff. He comes in and he does like the whole entire floor. Then afterwards, he looks at him kind of like with a smile, like, if you want to play this game, I'll play this game all day long. You're not superior to me. I'll do whatever you want you to do, and I'm going to do it 10 times better. So if someone's stealing my workouts, I'm going to keep on doing more creative workouts. And I'm going to challenge myself to make myself even a better trainer, because I want all these trainers out there to be doing my stuff, and then people are like, oh, that's the guy that basically taught everyone in here. Versus the average trainer's gonna go up and be like, I can't believe you took my exercise, you took my workout. Like, really, is that your workout? Did you trademark that? Trainers, their egos are really small. Their egos are big, but they're inside they're very insecure. Huh? Self-esteem was nothing for you. Thank you. Their egos are big, but the self-esteem is small. And you're gonna come across a lot of people like that, and they're just gonna try to knock you down, and Mark's route is gonna be far superior. Any other questions on anything anatomy, program-based? Shoot us a DM, or any questions on the Patreon, things that you want us to help you focus more on. That's what we're trying to help you guys with.
Hey, Chris.
Yep.
Sorry for asking again. I was looking for that chart that you got behind you and
Behind me? Oh, muscle guy? Yeah.
And actually the skeleton as well. I mean, this is really not off topic too much, but where did you find those? Because the ones I looked online, they didn't look like that. It weren't like that big, or it didn't look like that quality. It didn't have all of them, all the systems and stuff in there.
Yeah, I mean, you literally, let's see what this guy's called. Medical illustrations. Let's see. Medical illustrations. Large posters. Yeah, I think you're gonna you wanna make sure that the anatomy chart isn't small, because they can, like this one may look the size, so like this one looks the size, right? That's the same one I have, but this one's probably really small, so you have to find out the exact size of it. And if you don't care about this one, maybe only, well, you can't see this right now, but so you just look at so this one is 42 by 62. I think this is actually probably at 42 width, 42, maybe that's a little bigger than that. But I would just type in medical illustrations of And they're out there. It did take me a little bit to find it too, but it's going to be on some type of medical sheet like this.
Okay.
Don't think about paying $2,000 for a fucking skeleton either. You can get them for a couple $100.
Okay.
It's funny because little stuff like that, it's like trainers would be like, oh, it's stupid. Your clients aren't going to know. But when your clients come into that environment, they're like, oh, wow, I wasn't expecting this. I was expecting, CrossFit style, a bunch of douchebags and t-shirts. And so it's like you separate yourself. You're like, no, I'm super knowledgeable. Your hips hurting or your shoulders hurt. Let's go to the anatomy guy. Just tell you what it does. And you'll go through everything, and they really appreciate that. All right, so if you guys don't have any other questions, I will. Anything else?
Yeah, actually, one thing, Chris.
Yeah.
So I have just a few clients. I mainly train them on weekends because that's kind of like how I work with my college schedule because I play college baseball right now. So I only train them.
Where do you play?
Chabot. I'm up in. I live in Alameda.
Yeah. Oh yeah, where do you live?
Alameda. Yeah.
Yeah, we're in Alameda. We already had this conversation, didn't we?
We didn't have this conversation.
Okay, sorry.
But yeah, so I only train them like once, maybe every once in a while. I'll get them on Sunday, Sunday. So like in regards to that, should I be like, how should I approach that necessarily? Should I go like with kind of a harder workout since I only see them once a week, or because what I normally do, I'll give like a focus for a day, and I'll have like my 2 accessory movements, and usually it's like some kind of like high heart rate, not like high heart rate, but like cardio circuit based kind of.
I mean, let's do a role reversal here. So you're the coach, and you have a player that only can come in one time a week. Are you going to beat the shit out of him that one day? Or are you going to maybe look at everything across the board and A, figure out a way that he can do stuff at home, B, focus on the things that are most important in your opinion while he's with you or she's with you? And I think that approach may be a little more successful long term, where here's what we're going to do is typically I like to train with people 3 times a week, but because of the circumstances, I only can work with you once or twice. So here's what I'm going to do. People love deals, right? So do they have programs at home that you're designing for them or what?
No. So what actually happened, how this started was one of my coaches from last year, he moved from Idaho, and before he moved, I would like shadow him, like as just like watch him train people, maybe get a little interaction with the clients too. That's how I picked up the clients, and most of them are from like Orange Theory, so they kind of just like that high heart rate, like intensity kind of workout, right?
Yep.
So lately I've been trying to shift them into more like strength based, kind of like just slowly, gradually moving away from their Orange Theory type workouts. And a lot of them do still go to Orange Theory on top of what I give them. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much what I'm working with right now.
And what do they pay you per hour, if you don't mind me asking?
I mean, I followed the price of my coach before me, and he was only charging $20. So yes, nothing super expensive, but usually groups of like 2 to 3.
Okay, so you got 3 people that are paying you $20. Yeah, so then what you need to do is try to figure out a time during the week when you can do a Zoom workout with them. And let them know it's going to be complimentary, but 1 workout, 2 workouts a week isn't optimal. Even if they're doing the Orange Theory stuff, they got to get in front of you more. And so if you were to do like a Zoom workout with them, you do the first one for free, and then what you do is you get their feedback. What'd you guys think? What'd you like? What didn't you like? How would you like to start doing this more regularly? And confidently, they're going to say, we would love to. Say, great, so let's do next week at same time. Does that work for everyone? Get their commitment. It's all about the communication. And they say, yeah, that works, great. Oh my God, thanks, Dean. So here's what we need to do. The classes are going to be $10 a pop. Now, if you don't want to pay the $10, simple, bring someone else to do it with you. So right now we have 3, including me, it'll be 4. So I want you to have someone else Zoom in, and then that would be your ticket price. So if 3 of you bring other 3, we'll have 6. You guys don't have to pay anything. And each week, I will set those expectations the same way. So they're going to, maybe 2 or 3 times, we'll bring people in. They can't find anyone else. They pay $10. Before you know it, 2-3 months down the line, you have 10-15 people in this class. 7 of them are paying $10. 8 of them are new. You talk to the new ones, where you're from. Hey, I'd love to do a Zoom consultation where I go over your goals, check out your form on a squat, a push-up, a hinge, whatever you want to go over. And I do online programming as well. You're in Tennessee, and I can show you what a month of my programming would look like. I typically like to send out a week at a time. I'll do one Zoom call with you a week. So then you could potentially pick up online clients that way, or maybe even in person. So use the people who you have as a means for referrals and to grow your brand. When it comes to the workout, I think it's kind of a hard answer for you, but it's maybe an answer you don't want, but it's like one workout isn't gonna change the game. I mean, let's go off of these analogies for baseball. It's like, was there one practice that helped you guys win a championship? Never. It's the combination of it all. It's about the consistency, and you're doing the Orange Theory, it's great, but we need to be doing this at least 3 times a week. And right now we're only doing it either A, once, or B, once or twice. We need to get during the week as well.
And then going back to like the complimentary person too, like would the person, like I was just a little confused, I saw this on the Instagram too. Would the person they bring pay, or would that all, would it be
Their comp. That's their comp thing. So they get to come in there. Now you tell them. So let's say Mallory, she's been my trainer for my client for a while. She brings you in. You're both comp today. At the end of the workout, we sit down just like this. How'd you guys like the workout? What did you like? What didn't you like? How'd you like the music today? Oh yeah, I love EDM too. Cool, it's like you're bonding with them. All right, so how would you guys like to do the same workout next week at the same time? Who can commit? Maybe half of them would want to do it more. You may even get someone say, can we do it more? Of course we can do it more. Typically the classes are $10. And right now, because of the holidays, we're doing a sale. So normally in the 2021, it's going to be $25, but right now we'll do them for 10. So if you want to start doing more classes, it's $10 per class. If you bring someone else in, it's complimentary. And then you use that as an opportunity and challenge for yourself to try to get 10 people in there. Let's start making $100 an hour. You can easily do that. Use your Instagram, do a little post. If you haven't sat in on one of the classes that Danny does, shoot me a DM after this. Tomorrow at 8 o'clock, she goes over social media. And you can use that to your advantage. After a class, you film, hey, here's a class today, people can see that you're doing it. A lot of trainers get caught up with the paralysis by analysis, where they're thinking so much that they're not doing. So your followers need to know that you're a trainer. Even if you're learning to become a trainer, they still need to know that you're doing shit. Whether if it's reading a book or it's posting a little thing, even like these classes, people like seeing that stuff because then they're like, oh, I didn't know, I thought Dean was a baseball player. I know he was a trainer too. So ask yourself those questions. Do your followers know what you do? How many followers do you have, Dean?
Well, on my fitness page, I'm not very active on it at all, so only 50 on there. But
So-
then on like the personal page, I have like 700.
Okay, so if I were to find those 50 people on your fitness page, and if I were to ask them what you do you think they know what you do? Okay, do they know that you offer Zoom classes?
No.
What if each one of them were to pay you $10 for a Zoom class? How good are you at math, Dean? What is that?
$500.
Okay, so what if you were to make $500 tomorrow? Do you plan on making $500 tomorrow? No. So that's an opportunity for you to do that. And it takes work. It's planting your seed. It's going to grow. But you got to think of it as, I want to be making money while I sleep. And the more programs that you do, the more guides that you build, whatever it is, you want to be making money while you sleep. That's the ultimate goal. I think we all can kind of attest to that, right? Any other questions on anything?
Yes, I have a question, Chris.
Okay.
What do you do? Well, I don't, because like this was actually one of the questions like Nasm kind of leads you into, but they don't really do a very good job with everything. What do you do if a client